Why?
Because I get to meet new friends that I don't know.
What is your favorite part about church?
My favorite part is the same thing that Stella said because there's so much fun activities. Nap time. My favorite part about church is seeing Miss Priscilla.
What's your favorite part about church?
My favorite part of church is learning about God. Probably because every single time I leave, I feel like I have strategies and ways that I want to be a better person.
My favorite part about God is that He's always forgiving us for whatever we do bad.
I like the missionary books.
Do you have a favorite?
Yes, there's like this octopus one that I really want to get. And I want to read it and see what it's about. Mommy is with us. I love that Daddy's with us too. That's Daddy, Mama. Mother's Day.
Oh, Mother's Day. It is
Mother's Day. I love church. About church is singing.
Favorite thing about Kids Club?
I get to do a lot of activities outside because it's so fun. I get to cartwheel. The thing to do at Kids Club is do arts and crafts. My favorite thing about Kids Club is being able to see Pastor Beth.
My favorite part about Kids Club is playing Gaga Ball.
About being at Kids Club is being with Pastor Beth.
My favorite thing about Kids Club is spending time with all my friends.
My favorite thing about Kids Club is the crafts.
My favorite thing about Kids Club is hanging out with my friends.
My favorite thing about Kids Club is spending time with all the other children and playing. My favorite part of Kids Club is playing with my friends. My favorite thing of Kids Club is being with Pastor Beth.
My favorite part of Kids Club is playing with all my friends.
My favorite part is playing with my friends. My favorite thing is when it ends, we do a pot thing. We paint a pot and then put flowers into it and then take it home for the summer.
Good. Your turn.
My favorite thing about Kids Club is that we get to go outside.
I have a lot of favorite things, a lot. Today, I want to make sure to say thank you first because you are the church. You are the people that tithe. You are the people that give. You are the people that volunteer, that make all of our ministries for children, youth, or whatever we do possible. And so I thank you because without your support, nothing I would do or any of the teachers would do would be possible. So I'm grateful today, and my heart is full of thanks for you. The other thing I wanted to do this morning is if you have a toddler, like let's say 3 or under, they're the ones that don't usually get to stand up here, and you don't get to see them, but every now and again, and I think it's important for you to see how they grow. So if you have a toddler, moms and dads, I'm sorry, grandmas, sorry to put you on the spot today, but I'd love it if you would just stand where you are. Let us see that child or the twinsies, Mrs. Tucker. So if you guys would stand and show off those littles that we love so much. Look at how great they are. And thank you for doing that, parents and grandparents. The other thing is if you are a Sunday school teacher or a VBS leader, or you help on Tuesdays or Wednesdays or anything like that, would you indulge me And let me say thank you to you. If you help in the nursery, the list, if you're involved in children's ministries in some ways, would you stand so we can thank you? Boys and girls, look around at these grown-ups that are invested in you. Thank you. Thanks for your investment. I'm grateful and want to be sure that I don't get to stand up here alone and get all the pleasure of working with these boys and girls. The other thing I want to share with you today is I love to leave you with something. As a matter of fact, when I was talking to my daughter Alyssa, I was telling her what I was preaching about, and she said, well, what's your giveaway? I felt a little bit like Ken Stanford, because if you see Ken Stanford preach, he is always giving stuff away. And I was struggling with that. And so today, you're getting a trust rock. They were really expensive. No, Bob helped me pick them up. His rocks are bigger than mine. I picked up the littler ones, so you know. But today, when you leave, I want you to take a rock with you, if you would. They're on the back tables. There's 4 baskets. And here's the point. Well, first of all, it's going to remind you what we talked about today and the year. Because, somewhere along the way, you're going to go, why do I have that rock? Why do I have that handprint from years ago? I don't know. But on the other side of the rock, there's a child's name. And I'd love for you to take a rock and commit to praying for that child and that child's family for this next year. It's a powerful thing when the church prays. We know that our children benefit greatly from the prayers of God's people. If you get a rock that has just a first name on it, that means you have one of our community boys and girls. One that maybe isn't a regular attender, but they in some way are connected with us. Most of them are through our Tuesday afternoon after school club, but some of them are VBSers and things like that. So I'll remind you later, I hope. That's why I keep the rock in my pocket so I don't forget. So today I wanted to share with you about trust. When I was a young girl, my friends and I, little girls at church, we were playing hide and seek one day while we waited for our parents. And the boys and girls know that this is like an all-time favorite thing to do, and they especially like it if the lights are out and it's dark. So after a while, as we're playing downstairs in our church and it's dark, it's quiet. Well, it kind of got to us after a bit. And that place that was once oh so familiar to us became a bit creepy and scary. I'm telling you, as a grown-up, I've been in this place when it's dark and quiet. It can be a little creepy and scary. So when I was a little girl, though, I actually have to admit that I hadn't noticed. But my friends had, and they said, it's scary in here. What if something happens? What if someone's hiding? I thought we were playing hide and seek. I don't know. But what if someone's hiding? I'm not sure where my confidence came from, because that is not in my list of characteristics. I am pretty shy and quiet, which is kind of weird standing here. But I remember clear as day that day. I said, don't worry. It's church. God is here. Duh. We don't have to be afraid. The story rings out in my mind time and time again. I remember it clearly, and it does always surprise me still, mostly because I remember that unabashed confidence and trust that I had in saying that. It was like a shrug of the shoulders. Oh, God's here. No big deal. We don't have to worry about anything. Carry on. Boys and girls, you are pretty great. You have this way about you that grown-ups like me sometimes long for. You are carefree, you're forthright, you're trusting, engaging, curious, hopeful, expectant, enthusiastic, accepting, kind, generous, humble. Now you know why I work with these kids. Who wouldn't want to spend time with people with these kinds of characteristics? As I was wrestling through preparations for today, I couldn't get away from the stories of Jesus and the children. In Jesus' day, children were considered property. They had no status or rights until they came of age and became useful. They could offer nothing. Perhaps only to their parents did they have any use, meaning, or value. It's hard for us to fathom this in our society today, isn't it? We certainly treasure our children. But there are a couple of similarities. Children were and are dependent on their parents to meet their every need. And parents want the best for their children. The parents in this story want to get their children to Jesus just for a glimpse, just to be touched, blessed, perhaps hoping for something more or something better. We find this story of parents bringing their children to Jesus in all three of the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew 19, Mark 10, Luke 18. And interestingly, it comes embedded in conversations that Jesus is having with his disciples about who is the greatest, and the parable about the rich young ruler and that lost sheep. The protective disciples discourage parents away. In my mind's eye, the picture is this: disciples surrounding Jesus and just shooing them off with their children as though Jesus didn't have time for them. But Matthew, Mark, and Luke actually say the disciples rebuked the parents. That's a pretty strong word. Parents in the day, considering the view of children, they thought it was appropriate. Jesus is so very busy, always surrounded by crowds and people wanting his attention or touch. Perhaps they thought their response was justified, maybe even appropriate. For us, it's hard to imagine the disciples treating parents and children this way. We know Jesus' response, though. Jesus calls them out. Let them come to me. Do not hinder them, for the kingdom of God belongs to such as these. Not only does Jesus tell his disciples to allow them to come, he says, don't stand in the way or block them from coming. Don't interfere. And since we're in kingdom conversations, worrying about who is first, who's last, who gets to sit where, he tells them, and you all have to become like these little children to get in. It's not about possessions like the rich young ruler, or about status, who's first, who's greatest, who gets to sit where. And although you have 99 sheep, yes, that one missing sheep does matter. It's becoming in our nature like a child, the lowest on the importance pole, dependent upon God. It's about accepting anyone, friend or foe, needy or not, different or same, clean or dirty, helpless or helpful. On Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, kids typically bolt into this church. They are enthusiastic, noisy, really noisy. But they're happy, they're expectant, they're confident, hopeful, trusting, just in general, super excited to be here. They know this place loves them. That means you love them. You demonstrate that in your support. They know that the people here are good to them, that they will have fun, that they will learn about Jesus, that they have friends here, are accepted here, and can get help if needed, and will be cared for. When we sit together, we have a lesson or a story or gather to review the plan for the day or the afternoon, share prayer requests and pray together, share stories about our week, or exciting things that are coming ahead, they are attentive. They're kind, generous, loving, hopeful, optimistic, trusting, innocent, confident, assured, yet dependent. They're children. They hold little to nothing back. This makes life and ministry fun and interesting. When I sit with my own young adult children, with college students and friends, loved ones, and even myself sometimes, I experience something completely different. Stressed, worried, jaded, skeptical, busy, exhausted, hopeless, doubtful, frustrated, scheduled. Friends, we've lost something in our adulting. In our adult lives, something's missing. If you're anything like me, you've experienced times when you've run through life at such frenetic speed that as you glance in the rearview mirror, you realize you might have missed a few things. Or maybe you're carrying around some unnecessary things. Maybe you're just wallowing in it, just sloshing from side to side, wallowing, making a big mess, but zero progress. Maybe you're a faithful devotion haver, a devoted prayer warrior, but your life is so compartmentalized you can't get the crossover from the God moments to the everyday compartments you live in. Maybe you're a young adult and discovering this adulting thing isn't all it's cracked up to be. Maybe you're a recent college grad or soon-to-be high school grad thinking, finally, or I can't wait. I'm terrified. I just simply don't have direction. And for the umpteenth person that's going to ask me, what are you doing? Where are you going? What do you want to be? I have no idea what I want or I'm supposed to do. Maybe you're an older adult and life is changing and you're not too thrilled about those changes. The things you could once do, you no longer can. You require help in areas you could once do for yourself. Honey, I was going to share a story about this, make it relevant, but I decided I would not. We know about these things in our house. You have to think differently about how you go about your days. Life isn't as it once was. Adulthood just may give us this false sense of security. In some ways, we're in control. We get to choose what we do, who we do it with, how we do it, when we come home, when we go to bed, when we eat ice cream, whatever. We have control. We may have influence in our job, in our classes, in our social spheres, on boards and committees, towns, neighborhoods, and schools. We may have control of outcomes like grades or jobs or relationships, marriages, friends, families, people, peers. Isn't the goal that we are dependent on only ourselves? Isn't our job as parents to make sure they can just fly? Therein lies the kingdom problem. We've worked so hard to become independent that depending on God feels counter everything. As a matter of fact, I think it's so counter everything that often we don't even know how to be dependent, to be like a child, to trust God. What does that even look like? Well, here's what I think trust might look like when you're a child. It just fills you right up, right? Some of you know this feeling, especially on the catching end of things. I confess I don't know that jumping feeling anymore. You know what it's like to have the trust of a child or of someone who is dependent on you. Some of you boys and girls are still little enough to jump into your parents' arms and know for sure that they're going to catch you. You're not going to fall splat. Here's a possibility of what trust may look like through an adult lens.
Jesus, I just don't trust you.
You don't trust me?
No, I mean, I want to trust you. I just don't.
I have an exercise that I think will really help you.
Oh, okay.
Stand here and face this direction. Now, do you trust me?
No, I just said I don't trust you.
Right, well, this is all part of the exercise.
Oh,
all right?
right, okay.
Whenever I ask you if you trust me, you say, yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Even though I don't.
It's practice.
Okay.
So, do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Now, fall back.
Are you going to catch me?
Don't worry about that part.
Okay, that's the part I'm worried about.
You can do this, okay? Just trust me.
Trust you.
Fall back.
Okay, well, Jesus, I trust
Good.
you. Yes, I do trust you. I'm going to fall
Okay.
back. Woo!
Oh, okay.
That's great.
Let's try this again. Just face this direction and keep your feet planted, all right? Do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you.
Now, fall back.
Okay, I'm going to do it.
All right.
I'm really going to do it. Okay.
Good.
Oh, Jesus, you really caught me! I didn't think you were going to catch me, but you did!
Oh, that was great!
That was great!
You're ready for level 2.
Level 2, here
Yes.
I come, baby! Woo! Whoa!
Okay, hold it.
Oh, you know what? You're too close. You need to move back.
Ah, right.
Okay.
This one's a little bit different, Laura.
Okay.
Stand here,
Uh-huh.
but face me.
Woo! Forward fall. I
Okay.
can do that.
Wait.
Whoa.
Okay, wait for my signal.
Oh, right, the Jesus signal.
Yes, the Jesus signal. Do you trust me?
Yes, Jesus, I trust you so much.
Good. Fall back.
That's awesome.
It is awesome, especially when you do it.
Seriously?
Of course.
Okay, Jesus, I don't know if you noticed this, but there is nobody over there.
I know it looks that way to you.
It looks that way. It is that way.
You can do this, Laura. Just trust me and fall back.
Jesus, I can't do that.
We can do it together.
I can't.
You can.
I won't.
Trust is hard. It may even seem unnatural, the way it feels to just fall backwards, keeping your body straight and trusting you'll be caught and not injured. Trust is hard because it means surrendering and relinquishing. Surrendering and relinquishing control, influence, outcomes, people. Life's journey isn't always easy. Being a Jesus follower doesn't mean all sunshine, butterflies, and rainbows. We experience really hard, challenging, and questioning times. Times when you just want to throw your hands into the air and say, really? Why? Or maybe it's, you want me to do what? Why? I don't want to do that. I've experienced these, and I'm pretty sure you all have too. And I'm also pretty sure we're going to experience them again at some point in our journey. As a sophomore at ENC, I knelt at this altar. It was over here. I have no idea the speaker or what he said, but I do remember God was calling and asking me, do you trust me? Are you all in? Will you say yes to me regardless of the ask? I said yes that night and continued on a deeper journey of obeying and saying yes, trusting fully and completely, depending on God. As an adult, I can be a skeptic, even jaded. I can doubt and distrust people. I don't always see the good. I overthink a lot. I pass judgment, and I think I can do it on my own sometimes. I have been overscheduled and guilty of busyness. But thankfully, that's only part of my journey. Thankfully, I serve a God who continues to remind me of his call to childlike trust, of the day I said yes and all the days after that I've said yes. I trust you. Thankfully, I get to surround myself with children, a constant reminder of the joy and simplicity of childhood, of the profound trust they display, of so much more that makes them Jesus' perfect illustration of what we must be like to enter the kingdom of God. When my family and I are able to take some time away, fishing is a favorite pastime. If it's capitalized and bolded in my notes here, if we catch anything, it's usually catch and release. It's too small, doesn't qualify as a keeper. I can't get that phrase out of my head this week, catch and release. But God replaced it with something. Trust and release. The woman in the trust fall video wasn't able to do that. As a matter of fact, she chose not to trust when she said, I won't. Many of you here today know, but in case you don't, when you trust and release whatever it is to God's care, fully depending on him, peace comes. It's an overwhelming peace that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Knowing you have fully surrendered that thing to God and that he's got it, is in control, and you are right where you're supposed to be in the journey, in the center of his will, in your sweet spot, is like nothing else. Maybe, just maybe, that's childlike trust. Yes, Jesus, I trust you, and fall back into his arms knowing he's gonna catch you. I've been reading through the Psalms recently. It's a steady diet of mine. I always encourage the boys and girls, you'll back me up on this, kiddos, to write in their Bibles. They go, oh, I can write in a book. I think it's so important for us to write in our Bibles and in the Word when we're reading and something moves us or strikes us. And I really think it's important to date it. I think it can be so helpful in our journeys. So in my reading the other day, I came across this, Psalm 46. And then before I read it, I'm always drawn to my handwriting. So it says this, 9/11/2011. Weird date, but it has nothing to do with it. Almost done with radiation. God is a gift, a blessing each day. Receive it. Right away, I can remember sitting at my dining room table and going, oh. I need some student readers to come help me. Jenna, Emily, Becca. Here's what those verses say. And I think you know this about me. You know I love to look at different versions. So Jenna's going to read first, and she's going to read the NIV. And then Emily, she's going to read from the Voice. And then Becca is going to read from the Message. These are all the same 3 verses. It's so cool to listen to them in different ways.
God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore we will not fear, though the earth give way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging.
God is our shelter and our strength. When troubles seem near, God is nearer, and he is ready to help. So I run and hide. No fear, no pacing, no biting fingernails. When the earth spins out of control, we are sure and near, fearless. When mountains crumble and the waters run wild, we are sure and fearless. Even in heavy winds and huge waves, or as mountains shake, we are sure and fearless.
God is a safe place to hide, ready to help when we need him. We stand fearless at the cliff edge of doom, courageous in the sea storm and earthquake, before the rush and roar of oceans, the tremors that shift mountains. Jacob wrestling God fights for us. God of angel armies protect us.
Thanks, girls. Those are good words, aren't they? My study Bible refers to those 3 verses that the girls just read as a triumphant confession of fearless trust in God. In my Bible, I circled the words fearless trust and wrote in the margins, love that. Need to work at that. Fearless trust. Like the little girl jumping into her father's arms, not one thought crosses her mind that he might not catch her or that he would drop her. Trust without fear. What is it that God is asking you to trust him in today? For me, as I've thought back over the last couple of years, there's a lot, but I picked 3 things that come to mind that God's been working on trust with me. The first one is family changes. One gets married, lives on another continent. The last one graduates from high school. How do you parent these young adult children? What does that look like? What does it feel like? How do we deal with these changing relationships? The second one is my mom's health. You've all been praying, and I appreciate it so much. But it's plummeted. I can give praise today. She came home on Friday. Remarkable. But I find myself in situations I hoped we were years away from. I see drastic changes in both my parents and their relationship and my relationship with them. These years of health challenges and facing stark changes in how life is are excruciating. Not only for me, but to watch in my parents. And then there's the God ask. Would you be willing to open your eyes, ears, heart to a different ministry area? What? But over time, with a loving and patient God guiding me, I hear his call. I open my heart, and the response is, yes, I trust you. So yeah, there's a few things in my life where I am seeking earnestly to wholly trust in him with childlike, fearless trust that says yes. In spite of my grown-up fears, I trust you. We're going to transition into the table to Holy Communion. And shortly thereafter, we're going to transition into small groups. I hope you'll take this opportunity to reflect on areas in your own life where God is calling you into childlike trust. I'm going to invite the communion servers forward. The Lord himself ordained this holy sacrament. He commanded his disciples to partake of the bread and juice, emblems of his broken body and shed blood. This is his table. The feast is for his disciples. Let all who have with true repentance forsaken their sins and believed in Christ for salvation draw near and take these elements, and by faith take of the life of Jesus Christ to your soul's comfort and joy. Let us remember it is a memorial of the death and passion of our Lord and a token of his coming again. We are one, at one table with the Lord. This table is the Lord's. It's not mine, and it's not the table of the Church of the Nazarene. It's the table of Jesus Christ. You do not need to be a member of this church to partake. Those who claim Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord are welcome. So if Christ invites you, please partake. Father, we thank you for your deep love for us, for the sacrifice of Christ, our Savior, and the redemption provided by this sacrifice for each one of us. May we be reminded of this as we prepare and take these elements, reminding us of your love, grace, and mercy. When the server passes you the tray, please pass it to the person next to you and then take your elements from the tray. It'll help make things smoothly. And please hold your elements till the end, and we will take them together.